Welcome to the gather round version of the Collingwood Rant.
Are we gathering around?
We're in South Australia right now. You can tell by the different set. You can hear the rain.
You know, you're not allowed to call it Radelaide the city of churches.
Really?
The government said no.
Which government?
And we listened to the government.
Which government?
I don't know, they're all the same, aren't they?
I'm Sly. Who are you?
I'm Governor General Spook.
Played Hawthorn this week, but leading into it, there was a little bit of fucking fanfare about Jack Ginnivan being tossed from Collingwood. Jack was unhappy that no one reached out to him and said, Jack would like you to stay.
Didn't they do that?
No one did it. No one did it. Sorry, Jack.
Didn't they have a party or something for him? No.
I think it was called the Premiership Party, but you were in that side, right?
Did they have popcorn?
I don't know. I would have thought
Did they let off party poppers when he left?
Well, I don't know. I'm just sort of looking at they dropped him. He worked his way back into the side. He was sub in the prelim. He was in the starting 18 for the grand final. He celebrated the flag with the players. He went in the season trip with the players. He had one more year on his contract to run, and he's turned around and said, well, no one's told me they want me to stay. Let me just go talk to Hawthorn.
The writing was on the wall, mate.
Yeah. Fucking... Again, we don't know the whole story, but fuck that, he's soft as...
Just make something up.
That is... Who am I? Mark Robinson? That is piss weak. Honestly, Jack, if that's why you left, that is fucking piss weak. You know, he talked about, McRae... They had, a really upfront meeting, and I think McRae just basically told him to grow the fuck up by the sound... Reading between the lines, but said you're a required player. And Jack was like, well, I don't want to grow the fuck up. I'm just going to go to Hawthorn.
There was a video that came out on Twitter this week that showed how much he doesn't want to grow up.
Yeah.
But anyway...
I thought I'd bring that up because it just really... That pisses me off. It's weak. And you fucking sort of taint that premiership team a little bit now by being so fucking soft.
Yeah. Jack Ginnivan plays for another football club now.
I thought he played for Hawthorn.
That's how yeah, well, that's another football club, isn't it?
Oh, they're a club, okay. Gather round. Conclusion of gather round.
Yeah, it's concluded.
They got 40,000. Where was it? The fucking...
Adelaide Oval, is it called that? Does it have a sponsor's name? We're supposed to give it something special? Church Oval.
Church Oval.
City of Churches Oval. Radelaide Oval.
And they started the lead up to the game with Craig McRae saying to Finley McRae, there's got some bad news. There's one McRae too many in the squad this week. And Finley said, you're not going to Adelaide, coach.
McRae said to him, you tried, mate. You tried.
How'd you feel about Finley getting dropped?
Oh, well, I said last week I would have liked him to have another couple. I just don't understand why they rate him so highly. He's played, I think I sent you the stats, he's played about, 3 games over the last 2 years. He's played 2, 3 this year, 3, 2.5, 1, 1.5.
He hasn't played a full game.
For someone who's meant to be so internally rated highly, he's not given much fucking chance. Do you play? Do we have a VFL game this week?
I don't know.
Do they gather round in the VFL? What do they gather around? An old torch?
Werribee, I don't know. I think, again, we don't know the internals, what's going on, but I think it's absolutely piss weak the way they've handled him. They played him as a sub the first 2 games against GWS and Sydney and then brought him on when the games are fucking gone. What do you expect him to do? Then you start him against Brisbane, which is like one of the best midfielders in the league, and admittedly he wasn't great, but again, that's 3 top 4 sides effectively you're playing him against.
It's the deep end.
And this is the sort of game where you say, well, Hawthorn's got a young midfield, you go for it. Fucking stamp your authority on this.
Stamp your claim.
But instead they told him to stamp it in on the VFL. It's just, I look at that side, you always sort of look and go, where's the improvement going to come from? I'm not talking about our current form, but if you were to go back to back, you're not going to go back to back with the same side. So you got Schultz in, great. What else? Where else is the improvement coming from?
We don't know because they're not given much of an opportunity.
So McInnes is,
Did McRae say anything that no one asked him to stay in the side this week? He was upset.
Feeling McRae said that? I don't know.
Did you ask that?
No, I don't know. Maybe Craig McRae said no one wants you in the team this week. I'm pretty disappointed. I think they should be planning a bit more for the future. For a guy who was a developmental coach, he doesn't want to develop players.
No, it's an odd one. Look, you can invest in your older brigade. It's worked well last year, clearly, because we won a flag.
Oh, no, I think we should just stop the
So
show.
I think I've just probably answered my own argument.
Yeah, we should just stop the show.
But I would have thought this year, and you do have an ageing list, and they are looking slow, that you're going to start at some point this year having to inject some youth into it. This is the time you sort of, surely you should be getting at least one or two on a regular basis in there.
Well, we got one in McGuinness, but...
Yeah, well, but he's almost had to pick himself through need.
Well, I was just to say, I mean, I think the way they're treating Reece McGuinness isn't great too. It's like, hey, Dan McStay's out. Can you go down there and sort of, at times, be our key forward? No worries, coach. It's my 3rd year in football and about my 6th game. No worries, I'll fucking do that.
Did anyone tell him, though, that this is going to be like a World War II simulator and the amount of bombing that's coming in? You're going to have to probably hide in a crater at some point?
Well, that would be good if someone did tell him. Would it be good if someone on the fucking side, had the intel... Anyway, I'm jumping a little bit ahead. First half, we dominated the Hawks.
Yes, we did.
18 points by at
Do you
quarter
think,
time.
at half-time, that's when they went home, wasn't it?
Yeah, 38 points. We've done enough.
Yep, all right. Is there any point to talking about the second half?
I am so fucking pissed off with this effort. I don't
think you can call it an effort.
Let me just backtrack, because one of the counters from people will be, we're premiers. What are you complaining about?
We won. What are you complaining about?
Oh, I think
we're premiers and we won.
Yeah, so...
We got 4 points.
How do you feel about...
They don't give away 2 points,
Yes, they do for a draw.
They don't give it away, though. You have to earn it.
Yeah. But how do you feel about when people say, we're premiers, stop complaining?
I don't want to call them idiots.
No, you can do that.
No, I think it gets to a point where your crutch is just going to be viewed as that. At the moment, things aren't going well. We're not travelling particularly well. It's not gelling. We've won 2 games, which is fucking great, because we'd be well and truly in the shitter if we hadn't. But you can't just keep looking backwards to look forward. You've got to say, well, this is where the reality of where the club is at the moment is where we are. What we've just done is past tense.
Well, I'll just say that, I mean...
Great fucking day, but it's past tense.
Yeah. It is the past. That's all it comes down to. I mean, being premiers, what does that give you an advantage? Does that give you a wild card into the finals? This constant defence that, what are you complaining about? We're premiers. Great, that was last year. There's a new season. Do you know it's cyclical? It starts all over, and we're all going for it again. I mean, imagine fucking Djokovic said, well, look, I'm the US Open champion. I'm not going to fucking bother competing for any other slams. Fuck it. No. It's the worst. It's the lobotomized defence. Just sort of throw out, we're premiers. Great, yes, we are premiers. It does nothing, though, in terms of impacting this season.
No.
The only defence I'll actually say, because, I mean, we'll look more like how shit we were in the second half. Totally appreciate, there's 19 more rounds of football or whatever it is, and there's plenty of time to turn it around and find something as the season goes on. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. If they are actually pacing themselves and saying, look, at round 11, we just need to be 5-6 wins, and then we'll gear it up. Maybe last season they felt like they almost ran out of fuel going into the final, so maybe they thought, let's just pace ourselves a little bit better. But right now, you're watching that second half, and that second half was very much like the second quarter against Brisbane, and it was very much like second quarter and third quarter against St Kilda. It was very much like a lot of that Sydney game, and it was very much like the second half against GWS. They totally go missing at certain points. De Goey was good. Mitchell was really good. I thought Frampton was really good again. You can't tell watching on television, but I got the sense, and I could be wrong, but I got the sense that he was being so impactful that Sam Mitchell must have told Chol, lead him away from contests and get him out of there, because he's actually, Moore's doing nothing, but Frampton was actually a presence. Because in the second half, I barely saw him near the ball.
No, that's right. I mean, we watched the highlights before, and all those goals that came, he was nowhere near in the vicinity of it. So clearly, you're onto something there. I think he was pulled out as a decoy. Yeah.
Darcy Moore, what the fuck's going on there? Have you seen a less enthusiastic... He looks like he just can't be bothered.
It comes back to that take the steps thing where he looks shattered in the car. I don't think he's actually picked that mood up since.
Well, that we were surprised watching it.
And you're the captain. You're supposed to be the one that people look to. I still think half the time they're looking to Pendles.
Yeah. Well...
And you know when Pendles went off, that's the reason why we lost.
Well, if they're relying on a 36-year-old to be the stabilising influence, to be the one who shows them the way, when you got guys like Mitchell, Howe, DeGoey and all that, and not one of them stand up as a leader, or you're saying they're not standing up because Pendles is gone.
The leadership team?
I
think all of them are there.
Finlay McRae's not.
No, isn't he?
No. I think he was in it for about 7 minutes and they took him out. But
Ginnivan was going to be in it, but no one asked him.
No one appreciated him, so he left.
No.
I don't fucking know. Who's in it?
Quaynor or something? How? I don't know. It's usually everyone has a crack.
Yeah.
Who's vice captain?
But the thing is, what the fuck's the leadership team anyway? Surely the guys who have some experience and seniority, they should be the ones going, hey, pick this up. I mean, I thought more. There was a few times I was expecting him to run around, you know. I mean, you look at Nick Maxwell by comparison, he'd be shouting and directing traffic and all that. You don't really see more doing that. And then you got sort of the guys in the midfield. Tom Mitchell, I don't know if he's in the leadership team or not, but he's got leadership capabilities. And I'm not condemning him, but it's like there's other people who have that capacity to do that, and you just don't see that happen.
Do you think, though, that you've got Pendles in the guts more often than not, and he's directing traffic a fair bit of the time, that they just become too reliant on that direction, that no one else is picking up the slack? Because, as you said, you don't see anyone gesticulating or doing anything to sort of say, oh, fuck, you should have been here, or stand over there, or do this next time round. It's all very non-plus. Yeah. And you do see Pendles sort of winding things up and saying, yeah, that there, and I'll do
Well,
this.
you go back to the grand final, because we're premiers, you know.
Yeah. What are you complaining about then?
After Charlie Cameron kicked that goal and put him in front...
We weren't premiers at the time, though.
No. But we went back to the middle, and Nick Dacos, and we've mentioned this, Nick Dacos said to Pendles, you want me to swap out with Mitchell? And Pendles said to him, what, you don't want to be part of this? And, like, you think about that, I actually think...
So he asked him to stay?
I think he challenged him to go, do you want to be part of this and try and get this lead back?
Why couldn't he run down the other end and tell Ginnivan that?
But no, I actually think, like, you look at stuff like that, he knew how to get the best out of him right then and there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. It's knowing your troops and what they're capable of at the time.
Yeah. So, you look at, like, the side now, I mean, Crisp is another one that should be a leader. I mean, Elliott's old enough to be a leader. You know, even Schultz, even though he's new, he's been around enough. So, why... during these games, because not just this game, it's happened, other games, they just totally implode. Whole connectivity goes, there's no synergy. Nick Dacos to me looks like he's carrying something. He just doesn't have the same zip, and his disposal is really problematic at the moment. I thought Josh got the ball, but geez, he burned it badly at times. I thought as good as Noble was against Brisbane, he was as bad against Hawthorn. It seemed like a lot of them were fumbling. Quaynor came alive for about 6 minutes, then that was about it.
It was encouraging there for a moment.
Yeah, and then he was gone. Lipinski, I think in about the first 11 minutes, he had about 19 possessions, and he did nothing for the rest of the game. Hoskins and Elliott kicked a goal and then did very little. It was really such a underwhelming performance from so many, and it was really disappointing to sort of just... Because we watched the highlights to refamiliarise ourselves with the game. Halfway through that third quarter, we were still 5 goals up. So it's really just gone really quickly. Not a single player has actually known, let's break this down. You see, it's very, like we remarked when we were watching it, it was very much like a Buckley game plan of, like, we've got the ball, just kick it to a pack, try and force another stoppage, we'll try and win it there. And we're getting killed in stoppages. Joey Newcombe would just, if he played Collingwood 10 times, he'd win a Brownlow, he'd get 30 votes.
But as I sort of joked before, the blind bombing to the forward line. I mean... How many times do you have to fucking do it, see it not work, to realise it's not worth fucking pursuing? And we don't have any big marking target down there. So what do they think they're thinking?
Yeah, that's my cousin Nicholas made that point. He goes, you're kicking it to the top of the goal square. To who? Who are you expecting to take it?
It makes no sense.
And if you did have a key forward, then it would change the whole complexion of the side.
But the intent is to bring it down to the ground. But again, who did you see crumb a goal from any of those?
Oh, Nick did at one point.
Well, yeah, but that was that's class. But
I'll throw this in too. I mean, people go, oh, Hawthorn's a problem team. I looked this up. In the last 4 seasons, Hawthorn's finished 15th, 14th, 13th, and last year 16th. If this side is a problem team and you're using that as a defence, that is so fucking piss weak. That's a massive issue in the psychology of this side and how they face a crappy side who's struggling, who's young, who had injuries.
That's just, yeah, exactly right. They were 4 down this week from probably regular starts. They get incredibly, 6 players or something with less than 30 or 40 games or something out there. This is a team that you should have pulverised. And for half a footy we did.
Yeah, and they've lost round 1 to Essendon by 24 points. And we're seeing Essendon's not really a great side. Melbourne 55 and Geelong 36. I know they challenged Geelong. I think it was after everyone went off and then they came back on and Geelong just took a little while to warm up. It's really disappointing, and this is what I feel, and I was feeling this with Buckley, is like, no lead is safe with us because we just go on holidays mentally. And once we do, the other side gets a run on, and we just struggle to stop them. And it's not just this year. It's been part of, what we do under McRae. I'm not blaming him. It's just for whatever reason, that's the way the side plays. You go last year, we had 2 relatively big wins, an early one against GWS and then Port, both early games. And then probably beat North by about 6-7 goals in a really uninspiring win. But a lot of other teams, you look at playing Adelaide at the MCG, you should win that by 4, 5, 6 goals. There's a lot of games like that. And you go back to 2022 when we were 5 goals down against North. We had to come back. We were 4 goals or 3 goals down, I think, against Hawthorn. We had to come back. I think we were 2-3 goals down against Gold Coast. We had to come back. There's all these games where you should be going. These should be relatively comfortable games. Why does it take? It sort of almost feels like they need to be put to the sword before they realise, hang up, we've got to fucking win this. And it killed me that the argument from a lot of people was we're the kings of the clinch win. That wasn't a clinch win in the same context as, say, the grand final or the ones we won last year where it was, close the whole way and we had to come back. We're fucking 38 points up. For that to turn into a clinch win, there's something seriously wrong to capitulate to that extent.
There's 2 things, as you were talking about there, that popped into my head. The first one was, again, in the presser, McRae is talking about our target is 14 wins. Now, it's almost like he's talking at a level where we don't fucking care how you do it, just win them to get there. The second one is, though, you look at our percentage at the moment, shithouse. It was, before the game, I think it was about 89.7. This is the sort of game where if you build that 38-point lead up, you should be switching into, we should peg some of this and get some percentage going back. Because even though you can have these numbers in terms of wins you need to achieve, percentage still invariably plays a role at some point in the season. And you're better off to fucking destroy something now and build that percentage to say, well, okay, we've banked that a little bit. That's there as an insurance policy on top of the wins as well.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, also you look at it you are 2-3, so all right, we might win the next 18 games straight. But if you're going to be part of the pack, then you need percentage. It's not like last year where you're 2-3 games clear and you can afford to.
I think it'll be a bottleneck this year. I reckon, more than anything.
So you need percentage, and it really disappoints me. I know people will say, "Oh, once you put the Q in the rack, it's hard to get started," which I think is the fucking biggest cop out again ever. What I've read and what I've heard from people who have defended this performance, outside of the one thing it is, there's still 18 games to play, whatever the season is, fine. But all these other defences of why we were shit, why we almost lost and all that, they were just rationalisations. It's inexcusable to have done that against a team that's touted to go bottom 4 this year. And a team which is losing every week so far. It's a fucking hopeless performance. And that's one where, it's like against Adelaide last year. Remember, we were 3-4 goals up, and then they got to 2 goals up. Is how do you just let that happen time and time and time and time again? Because at some point, you're going to go to the well, and you're not going to have the effort to haul this back in.
No.
And just because you've done it a few times, I know people go, they've done it 6-7 times or whatever. I mean, 2022 prelim, 2022 qualifying final, you fucking didn't do it in either of those. So it's a ridiculous formula. Surely the formula should be, let's dominate and fucking just put this game to bed. And if they try to come back, step on their necks and just make sure they can't.
I mean, I think you've got to hope that there's some sort of madness going on behind the method at the moment. Maybe this week's theory is that are you keeping... You don't want them to get ahead of themselves, so maybe giving some neutrality to the mentality of these types of things. That your mantra at this stage is just win, doesn't matter, just win. And you look back on that take the steps thing, and they really, obviously they honed in a lot around the tail end of the season, But some of the things they were doing with the commando and all that sort of stuff, you wouldn't be enacting on that now because you don't want it to peter out. You want, I guess, I would imagine if you're doing this that you're phasing it into a section of the season's going to be about this, then you start building up as you get into the second half of the season, and then towards the end you're then ramping that and getting the creative, not creative juices, competitive juices really going. At this stage you're trying to keep a tone there that's fairly level, and they seem to be achieving that because there's just no spark at the moment. No. But you sort of think, well, it's either it could be two possibilities. One is again, like we talked about with the loads and training and all that sort of stuff. Is it's the marathon approach, not the sprint, and you're trying to keep a cap on it now because you can burn out if you're going too hard too soon. Or the alternative is just maybe that's it. We ran our race last year, and we're just going to probably concede that we're going to be an also ran this year. It's too early to call, but at some point that could potentially be a distinct possibility as well.
Well, I mean, the one thing too is like if they're pacing themselves, it doesn't really explain to me why they just go missing for so big chunks of game. You'd think if they're pacing themselves, they'd still be competitive, but then they literally are not competitive. They're just witches' hats. And it's happened every game this year. So, and people go, oh, we'll come back or whatever, but it's like, well, hang on. Going on this season's form, because that's all you can really go on. You can't sort of go, hey, last year we did this. Going on this season's form, you've three times let three teams out in Saints, GWS and Sydney, and you haven't been able to haul them back in. You weren't able to sort of put, your foot down on the pedal and go, well, let's do what we used to do. So that's my worry. It just really at times looks like, I don't know whether they're satiated by, hey, we're premiers and that's pretty much all we've got left, or it's just another year and you have like guys who've gotten a little bit older, a little less hungry and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I tend to believe like you'd think guys like Sidebottom and Pendlebury who won their first one in 2010 and then won the next one in 2023 would be really good models to say to them, look, you don't know if this is going to come around again. You may never get another fucking shot at this if you don't apply yourself.
No.
And you look at there's a lot of, you look at Tony Lockett, he got to a grand final in 96, never got anywhere near one again. And there's a lot of examples of players who do that. Might have one grasp of glory and that's it. And it's like, you don't know when it's going to come around again, so what the fuck are you doing? Because this is really, really dispiriting. And, I'm not, again, because I don't want to fucking get attacked by saying, hey, there's still the rest of the season to go. I totally understand that. But there's warning signs where you're looking at it and just going, Darcy Moore looks really wasted. He just looks like very flat. And I can't imagine that's good for the rest of the troops if you turn into your captain and he's like, yeah. And it really amazed me. He only went for one mark, it seemed, that game. You just seem to punch, a lot. And a lot of the time, like you look at your captain, you go, you need your captain to do something to be to be the inspiration for the rest of the side. And he's just nowhere to be seen a lot of the time. And I don't know whether McRae needs to move him further afield, whether he needs to bring him high up to centre half back, or wherever he needs to go, let's just throw him forward for a fucking bit. But
I was saying to some mates the other day, you've got Frampton. I mean, if he doesn't win the Brownlow this year, I'll go, hey. And be All-Australian, probably All-Australian captain, I think. Captain coach, they still do that? Frampton's, he's capable of anything.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you get Murphy back into that side and Howe still stays fit, it really does give you the perfect opportunity to release more up forward. And at the moment, we're fucking screaming for a tall marking prospect to be up there who can kick. It just seems like a simple solution. We can't obviously do it now because who knows how far away Murphy is and whether Murphy's going to be robust enough to see out a season. But the opportunity exists. Why not try it?
Hey, look, I mean, I've said it a few times. I would even try Ash Johnson down back. I think his confidence is shattered as a forward too, so maybe letting him get led to the ball, letting him contest and all that. I
don't think you can fabricate a spark though. It just doesn't seem to be the interest.
When I look at him, he's one of these guys. There are certain guys who have played for it and they just really don't do well and they get moved back. And in Collingwood's history, Peter McCormack, Simon Prestigiacomo. I mean, even James Clement at Fremantle was a forward and he went back at Collingwood, you know. So there's guys who just generally work better as defenders. Ash Johnson, I think he's been tried as a forward. He doesn't really have the capacity to be a forward at this level. He doesn't have that intensity and that desperation to just keep running, lead, come back, arch back, lead again, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to give you his lead. He's got more chances as a defender, in my opinion. He's a good mark. If he follows a man around, he's got good pace. His skills are actually pretty good. So he's one I actually think could benefit from being moved because I don't think he's going to make it as a forward. And even if he did show some form as a forward, he's never going to be that pack-crashing forward that you really need. So I'll be looking at him and just be saying, look, this guy I don't think will be around season's end on current form, and his confidence is obviously shot at the moment. So
he's contracted for another year, though, isn't he?
Fuck, we contract people. He's probably contracted until 2029. I think they gave him a 7-year contract, didn't they?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So I know. I mean, but that's also because Murphy's are going to be a patchwork fix because at some point Murphy will get hit in the head, and going on his profile, it will concuss him.
Oh, I mean, you still got Dean waiting in the wings as well too.
Well, here's another one too. So Dean's I know the club rate him, but it's just baffling to me that you rate this guy pre-season 2022. He was playing really well against Hawthorn, and then he got injured with the foot, and then he missed the whole season. And then he was up and about pre-season 23, I think, and then he got injured. He missed the whole season. And you think, all right, he's missed 2 seasons of development. This is a guy you probably need to play in the VFL for 6 to 12 weeks. But instead, he was the one they went for, GWS in Sydney, and was like, that's just a baffling move to me. It's like, if he'd had 2 years of VFL behind him, I'd go, yeah, sure, go for it. But he hasn't even had 2 years of VFL because of his injuries, and you're dropping him into the deep end. And meanwhile, the guy you brought down to be fullback, Frampton, you're playing in the VFL. It's just, I don't know, there's some really weird moves there. And again, we don't know the whole logic of why they do what they do. Looking at some players, what do you think of Schultz?
I backed him for first goal scorer, so I was happy with his performance. Very happy at the start.
Yeah. So he looked alright at the start, but after that he delivered peanuts.
No, I mean, any of these rankings are all, you've really got to delineate between first half and second half.
Yeah.
Because they were different players out there in the second half.
Side bottom was the sub, came on after half time. What do you think?
Oh, well, I think he ended up with about 11 touches. I don't remember him being too prolific or anything there, which is almost understandable at his age being sub.
Yeah, I think he did some nice things. Like, he stood under a couple of high balls, took a mark. There's a nice tackle he did. I mean, I think the autopsy on, his career has been done a little bit too early. Mason Cox. We've always been big defenders of Mason Cox.
He had a shocker, I thought.
Again, yeah.
I mean, how many ruck infringements did he give away? I think the answer is all of them.
Oh, whenever he was in the ruck, he really seemed to struggle.
Yeah, no, he was completely off. I mean, that Meeks, how many games he played? About 3. He pretty much destroyed the ruck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Well, their midfield destroyed ours. It was really... I don't know. Josh Dacos, we talked about. Because I was surprised he got, he's pretty high in the coaches' list, and I thought he really burned it at times.
Yeah, mid 30-odd touches. I don't think a lot of them were uncontested, though.
I don't think he really used it that long.
No, well, he was prolific. I think that's all it takes these days, isn't it? Just to get your face on the National Geographic.
Elliott's been really good with it.
He started well.
Again, as you said, a lot of them started well.
Look at the fucking delivery. And this guy's 412 years old. The leap that he used to have is just non-existent there. And you're just dropping the ball at the top of his fucking head every time.
Well, I mean...
I think it's... The other thing, just to be... How many fucking forwards did you see attempt to lead into space at any given time?
Yeah.
Every kick was fucking square at the top of the square. There were times when you could see from the camera angles and they were looking for an option. You're going, there's a fucking paddock. Could not one of you run into it?
Well, I thought it was typified by that one... I think the second goal we kicked, but Josh Dacos kicked it to the top of a contest where Elliott had to leap over 3 people to take a mark, and I thought that really typified what the whole Collingwood attitude was. It's like you're playing kick-to-kick in the backyard and you're just putting the ball up for people to go mark to the... Yeah. There's really no logic or system to it. It was really disappointing.
I heard he was yelling, "Here comes Billy," into every marking contest.
Bobby Hill?
Yeah, not good.
No.
You know, for what was he, the Coleman medalist? Not Coleman. What is it? The
Norm Smith.
Norm Smith medalist.
The Billy Frampton medalist.
And his pre-season form just looks so electric that he's just stopped. He's just got no go about him.
Yeah.
It just looks probably out of everyone. I think he's almost the flattest.
Yeah, I mean, every now and again you'll do like one little thing, but he just, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's the weight of the blonde hair. He dyed a blonde to look like Billy Frampton, you know?
Oh, wouldn't we all?
Oh, well, I imagine. Jack Crisp.
Yeah.
So what do you do with these guys? Because a lot of them, I mean, the go he played well, I thought Mitchell, I actually rated Mitchell BOG, but...
he had 20 contested possessions. He was... I mean, the thing is, you're relying again on a bloody... How old's Mitchell? 30,
nice.
31, 32 or something like that? These blokes aren't going to be around for much more than a year or two. We're still relying on too few to lift things.
Going into...
He's been around long enough that he should be a hell of a lot more involved.
I think a lot of them should be. It comes down to, what I said before. It just feels like if that core's not operating, then the rest get really exposed. You sent me a tweet that quoted Mick Malthouse saying something like, Sam Mitchell will be the more disappointed coach, but Craig McRae would be the one with the more headaches. And I thought that really sort of summed it up. And then people were going, they'll bag in Malthouse, like, because he's never been in that situation to, know what that would be like.
No, but it doesn't matter. We won the flag last year.
Yeah.
So what would he know? He's just a bitter old man who steals bread rolls.
Buy this week.
I beg your pardon?
Buy this week.
For how much?
No, $12.
Is this another pride round or something?
What would you do? What would you expect coming out of that? I mean, so they've had, what is it? We've had 5 games, as McRae said, in 4 rounds. Good one, AFL.
Work that one out.
Yeah. So, coming out of so you get Pendlebury, they're saying he has broken ribs.
He goes in for scans tomorrow, apparently. Yeah. Why didn't he go today? Were they closed?
No, because I think...
public holiday?
He was in Adelaide. They don't have the technology like x-rays.
Well, they did a lot of nuclear testing back in the 50s. Surely everything glows. You're standing next to a light pole, you can see what's going on inside. When he was hit at the time, didn't you see his internal skeleton sparking?
What do you expect from the break? I mean, do you expect them to come back being fired up, or do you expect them to...
No, I'm thinking there's going to be more of the same at the moment. I don't think that 13-day break's going to re-energise them in any particular way. I think if you wanted to make it about reflection after 5 games, it almost feels like it's too early. The mid-season break would be where you probably got your linchpin to say, well, how do you think we're travelling? At the moment, it's not great, but it's only 5 rounds in, 4 rounds for some, 3 for others, and 16 for someone else. But at this stage, you wouldn't be putting too much into those 5 games. You'd surely work on skills, do something, maybe a few days off or something to let some sore bodies heal, even though apparently they're all fitter than they've ever been in their lives.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get over a broken rib anyway?
Maybe 4 to 6 weeks if it's broken.
That's going to fuck up his 400 games. Do
Do
you think they might just put him on there and sub him off in the first minute?
I mean, they could play him as a sub. I mean, it depends how badly broken they... I had 3 broken ribs and I played indoor cricket. There's all the physical contact in that.
What a he-man.
Yeah, I was BOG in the grand final with 3 broken ribs.
Had you started drinking yet?
No, actually... that was before. The demon drink got involved. Look,
So you were about 3?
yeah. I've only been drunk twice in my life.
Yeah, first time was in 1979. The second time was 2011.
First time was 89 in November, and that finished in January of 2004. Sorry, I was lost totally. With the broken ribs, depends how bad they are. I mean, they could tape them up, but if he cops a hit to him, you'd be in pain. Yeah. So it just depends how bad they are. I mean, fucking...
It's more when it impacts your ability to like breathe and run and all that sort of stuff without pain. That'd be when you're probably close enough to being able to play.
Yeah, I'll look at
the risk is obviously impacts.
Again, it depends how badly broken they are. Like, I mean, again, just mine were fractured, but I could run and all that. I just had problems moving on that side. Like if I was laying on the floor, I couldn't push myself up. I had to roll onto my other side and push myself up. So there was
Nothing's changed though.
but it wasn't like every situation. You know, like I played cricket, I batted and all that sort of shit. Took a couple of Panadol and then drank. But I don't know, like, you know, it depends how severely they're broken and, you know, what they rate. They might actually say, let's just play him as a sub. He'll come on for a quarter and hopefully he's all right. So it just depends how serious it is. But I was going to say, this sort of reminds me a little bit of 2003. Like, we made the grand final in 2002, we lost. And then the first half of the year was very much like this. Do you remember? It was like really uninspiring performances. And then they had the mid-season break and they came back and they just were totally refocused. And they won all but one game in the second half of the season. So it's way too early, but I really think they need to look at what they're going to do about the forward line, because you can't play this game plan where it's like, let's bomb it like we have Charlie Curnow down there, but we don't. And two, you've got to look at your midfield mix, because that midfield mix is... Bo McCreary is another one I think's been really disappointing.
Yeah, no, it's... he was all right last week, but he was non-existent again pretty much this week. No impacts. Yeah, like, you relied on him to be a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
And to lock the ball in and be really aggressive around it. You're not even seeing that at the moment. Because, like, just to go off on a tangent for a second now, you know, I saw people lamenting Port's midfield of
Connor Rosie and Butters.
Yeah, Butters and
Horn Francis.
Saying that, you know, it's overrated and stuff. I'd fucking give a left nut to have those three in my midfield.
Who's saying it's overrated?
Oh, there was some fucking idiots on Twitter. There's no end to the fucking idiots on Twitter. It's the same fucking idiots who you talk about bloody Nick Dacos being the most overrated player ever. You're thinking, yeah, you fucking idiots know nothing about football.
Rosie and...
But you've got a comment to make, but that's the important thing.
Rosie's fucking... Jesus. He's
a
brilliant.
freak.
And Butters is a different sort of freak. And Horn Francis probably still carrying the stigma of that shit year at
He's
North.
getting better.
He's got the ability, you know, you see it, and he's a young kid, and it's like, he's in his third season, and really it's his second season, because his first season at North was just a bust. So, you look at them, you think, fuck, you got 3 top 10 picks heading your midfield. But geez, I don't know how you can criticise it.
No, I don't know either.
And especially Connor Rosie. Connor Rosie's fucking really good.
Yeah, but the midfield for us is a concern, because it's a mix of Dad's army, one guy who may or may not be elite that week, and really that's it. Where's the next tier coming from? Nick's been moved out of it, but you know, I'd still see him as a mid. Bo should be running around the mid and getting better, but not happening. So yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of the problem.
Finn comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out.
That's a lot of problem too. Is you move Nick back to half back, and it's like, well, where's the run you should be getting from half back, which is the guys like Quain or Markov, Noble, Maynard. Why is that not happening? It's like you're moving someone back to fix something, but then the guys who are there, what are you doing about them? And if you're going to move those guys back, then you might as well go, well, let's fucking try Quain or as a midfield event or something. If you're going to... I think that the chemistry of the side is just not working at the moment. And that's probably because there's a couple of players who are off, and then that's got a flow-on effect to others who just aren't working as well. But this break, I'd really like to see them sort of address what they expect out of the next 5-6 weeks until the mid-season break. I'd really love for them to say to Philly McRae, hey, we're going to give you a month of this, so go for it. I don't know where the other guys like Josh Carmichael and that are rated.
No.
They've just sort of fall off.
You had, what was it, Harrison and
Joe Richards.
Joe, I think we bagged the fuck out of him enough last week. We'll go kind.
I didn't say anything bad.
We'll say nothing.
I didn't say anything bad.
Say nothing. Yeah, so I mean, they're sort of
you're getting a little bit defensive. Just a little defensive. That's the
I've
short
got a
of
small
it.
point to make.
Okay.
But we're a little short on time.
Yeah.
You got that music or something like that? Or a cymbal crash
No,
or something, just to let them know when to laugh?
Did you see the movie Cobra with...
Stallone?
Yeah.
I didn't see it with Stallone.
Did you watch it and you just...
I've never actually seen Cobra.
Really?
No. Should I?
Yeah, he plays the cop who plays by his own rules and shit. And his police lieutenant just rips into him. And Stallone gives him some stupid line. His lieutenant goes, Cobra, you got a real attitude problem. Sloan goes, yeah, but it's just the little one.
I do actually remember that from the trailer. I've seen the trailer. Does that count? Have I need to see any more?
So you just saw the mini version of it.
So, I mean, some of these guys are skirting the peripheries, but they're not obviously bursting into the team or anything like that. Harvey Harrison, I think, he's been in emergency nearly every game.
For about 4 years.
So, but there's like the ones they massively talked up.
He's like the Loch Ness sightings.
And I think it's his third year on the list. Is it? Yeah, Ed Allen. Yeah. And he has some dashing moments in the VFL and that sort of stuff. You sort of think, you don't hear about them really knocking on the door. They just have these like, it seems like cameo moments, and then it's the same old that sort of hang around. Yeah, Carmichael's an interesting one. He was playing nearly every game there for a while.
Well, Carmichael's an interesting one because I remember we got him in the mid-season draft. Like they were going, or the pundits, whoever the fuck rates these people, goes, like Collingwood got the real steal here. Like this guy's plug and play, and he really hasn't. I mean, he didn't really get a lot of look-ins last year, but when I see him in the VFL, I think, geez, you know what I really would have liked to see with Carmichael? I would have liked to see him just fucking appear like Rene King, to just be this hulking dude now, who would just, I'm going to get big and strong and just squash people in the midfield. Hasn't done that. Ed Allen, I saw someone say he's more like a Pat Lipinski type, which is like, fucking hell.
That's not an endorsement.
No, and it's like, that was a worry. And you got that Harry DiMartia.
Foxy says he's more like Bond.
Which Bond?
Bontempelli.
Oh, Bontempelli.
I'd fucking take that. You'd take that, wouldn't you?
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'd take it too.
I'll take Bontempelli.
Fucking, I wish we should have.
Does Foxy watch this?
What's that? No. He's smarter than that.
He just rated Allen like Bontempelli.
Hey?
Didn't he just say Ed Allen's like Bontempelli?
Yeah, but he says a lot of shit.
He used to love James Wasley, remember that? Every week was like, this is who we play, like, who's a good match? James Wasley. Sorry, Foxy.
Those were the days.
Yeah. I can't remember what we're talking about. Just see what the makeup of the team is for the next 5-6 weeks. I'd like to see him fucking restructure it, but as we're talking about these guys, none of them have really sort of demanded a spot. And that's the concern.
Yeah, McRae seems to have that real heavy investment in that mature. And you can understand coming in as a new coach and stuff, and you think, well, you've only got a limited time frame with the best of these guys, but it's sort of now gone on a little bit too much. I think you should be getting some tastes given to get them in, not just name them as an emergency and be done.
Well, I hear his favourite move is Cancun. Sorry, I guess that was...
Who do we play next?
For 2 weeks.
But we're not going to do what are you going to throw this? We're not even talked about the next game because...
We can't talk about 2 weeks from now. We don't know what the fuck's going
to... We'll give some idea. We're not going to do a buy special.
We might, I don't know. Fucking maybe we'll phone it in. MCG, Port Adelaide.
Back to the home of football.
Back to the home of football.
What round's this?
After leaving the anus of football.
This is the after the gather round?
I don't know. It's round 6, 7. I don't know. What the fuck? What is it? I know the way AFL did it.
No, I've no idea anymore.
Oh yeah. If you want to talk about Port Collingwood, the one thing I would like to mention is the umpiring at Fremantle Carlton.
Jesus Christ. That was woeful. But apparently Freo got nothing to complain about according to Twitter.
Really?
Actually, there was the thing is, like, you get all the Carlton sucks out there all fucking whinge about this, but you had a unified presence on social media of everyone aghast at those last couple of minutes in that game.
Yeah.
And, like, there was a few comments made consistently about these are the reasons why you don't bet on games, because it's like some of these outcomes seem to be almost fabricated, especially if there's payouts to be concerned. I'm sure that's a conspiracy theory to add to the 12 million other ones, but Jesus, that was fucked.
Oh, that was appalling. That was as bad an umpiring display as I've seen it. But look, I said this the other week. I think the AFL is one of the worst run competitions in professional sporting. It's like, what can you point at that they're running well? I don't know. Can someone fucking tell me?
Gather round.
Oh, great. And they're the sort of things they do, these real cosmetic things that mean nothing to anyone outside of the celebration. If you look at, like, I'll tell you, this sort of pisses me off. It's like, when you see the ruck infringement, and then everyone turns after the umpire blows the whistle, and no one knows which way it's going. That should be a major fucking issue, because you're basically saying there's an interpretation here with 36 players in the field, and all the commentators don't know which way it's going to go. If it's that murky, that is an issue that needs clarification in how that interpretation is applied. But you know what the AFL do? They just keep stonewalling until people accept it as novelty and they go, ha ha, yes. And that's all they do with the way they determine the game. I mean, the fucking umpiring, Carlton Fremantle, isn't it like one umpire calls it touch, the other one calls it a mark? When it's in dispute, isn't it meant to be a ball up? But, you know, it's just sort of the AFL again will just bat it away and it'll be like, they generally back the umpire, you know. They'll go, oh no, it's the correct decision because they can't admit they fucked up.
Well, they did. I mean, this is where you stack a fucking negative with a positive to them. But they conceded they got the deflection off Aish wrong, but they got the scent call right. I mean, at that point,
well, the scent only happens because
when you've ripped the fucking game out of the clutches of you wouldn't think anyone would get angry and maybe fucking verbalise their feelings at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we're too precious to fucking to take criticism.
Oh, that shits me. I know they'll sort of say it all filters down into bloody the lower leagues, but it's just it's not a really well run competition. You look at the way we're doing now. What what are we like round 4 and played 5 games and it's an unequal fixture and all this. There's so much shit. I'll tell you what kills me too. So we've totally gone off on a tangent. Is they brought in the draft and the salary cap because it was meant to be an equalisation policy. However, you got fucking clubs which are funded by the AFL, while clubs who were making money like Collingwood are just fucking getting ripped off of it. You get fucking drafts which are compromised by academy picks and by point systems and all this sort of bullshit. You got fucking the AFL sort of dictating quietly, which way players should go. Like, let's get Ablett down to Gold Coast and all that sort of shit. It's the most fucking compromised competition in the world, but it's all going under the policy of it's all equal.
Oh, that's it. You've got Tasmania coming in, and then Norwood's putting up their hand for the next licence.
Oh, really?
So we're going to go from yet again another 6-7 years of compromised draft to another 6 or 7 years of compromised draft. I think that's all you're ever going to know.
Yeah.
And then why is there a need to grow additional teams at the moment? Is there a demand for it? You're not getting enough fucking talent coming in that you can disperse it across such a broad competition. Your product's going to ultimately suffer at the end of it.
It is suffering
and
now.
you're seeing it now with, we talk about this nearly every week, but the drop-off in the teenage years for kids who will rather go play basketball and soccer than footy has to be of a concern. But they'll sit there, the AFL, and they'll point to the fucking uptake of Auskick and say, well, everything's wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's a pyramid of numbers that come to a point where you're struggling to. My son's under 12 side has had to merge with another club just to get enough numbers to get out there and play. But apparently, according to the AFL, there's no problem to see you move on.
It's just a fuck comp. It really is, and the way they expanded it, I think, always was going to hurt them because of that. You diluted the talent pool, but you got such a compromised fixture. You got these equalisation policies, and it's like, well, since you brought them in, which is the new millennium, they've been strict on salary caps and drafts and shit like that, or allegedly. Geelong's won 4 flags, Hawthorn's won 4 flags, Brisbane's won 3, Richmond won 3, so that's, 14 flags between 4 teams in 20 years. Yeah, it's a real equal comp, isn't it? And then, Sydney's won 2 and West Coast has won 2, so where's the equalisation coming from? Where's fucking all these other clubs winning it? They're not. And then but you want to pretend that it's an equal comp. It's bullshit. And I think the mechanism of how it's built now, if you aren't going to be a contender, then what they do, every club now does is, let's just get rid of the older players. Let's go to the draft 98 times. So it's about a 5-year process to turn that around. And the problem is when clubs say, hey, we're all going to go on that journey, that means you get what you get now, which is you get like maybe 1 or 2 teams which are really contending, and then the rest are just shit. So you're actually opening the door for greater dominance over longer periods because you forced all the other clubs to rebuild through mechanisms that are going to fucking take 5 years to take effect. Yeah. So I reckon it's a really shit run comp. I've been saying it for years. It's frustrating watching it. It's frustrating watching the fucking rules applied. It's frustrating watching things like, let's go to the video umpire. Okay, let me look at this blurry footage.
Well, again, though, this week, and I fucking made a point of it, I think it was the rant before the rant before that, but there was a contentious mark. Was it marked before or over the line? So they go to the camera. Again, another beautiful fucking example of how the padding and the post completely fucking blocked it. And then someone's made an educated fucking view and said, no, that's a mark. It was clearly marked. And you go, you can't fucking see anything. All you saw was a bunch of people go back with the fly of the ball, and then someone on the other side of the post had it in their hands.
Yeah.
Put a fucking camera on the point post, pointing back. Problem solved. These aren't fucking rocket science things to fix. If you've spent the money to go out and fit every fucking goalpost you can with the camera up top going one way, get some pointing the other way.
I mean, the other thing too you'd be fucking doing is you'd be putting cameras in the goal umpires' hats and the bloody... So when they turn and they're getting a vision of it. So just get as many cameras in there as you can to fucking create the best vision of it.
Like a porno.
Oh, you could do that. But even like the boundary umpire seems to be behind the point post. So he's already at a disadvantage because he's behind the fucking point post. It's like it's ridiculous, like how poorly.
Well, maybe they're scared of the camera.
It's frustrating too. And you look at like the way they, I think, fucked up the women's comp by just expanding it way too quickly and diluting the talent pool for a lot of sides. I mean, I was a defender of the AFLW and I was watching Collingwood every year until they lost Chloe Malloy, who was pretty much guided to Sydney by the AFL because they wanted to, expand the franchise and all that sort of shit.
Marquee player, ease of transfer rubbish they've got. Yeah,
and then, we lost other players. I was like, I'm not following this. Fuck this. You've just killed, my investment in 5-6 years of we're building this team to contend, but you've totally taken away, you undermined them. It's like, what do you want to invest another 19 years in this?
No.
So it's a really bullshit competition. And the way, like I said, what's the point of fucking making money in this competition? You're not allowed to use it unless you, blow the soft cap. And while I'm fucking bagging people, I hate the fucking media for ripping. They just want to fire Adam Simpson at West Coast. It's like, you know what? West Coast to back him, so just shut the fuck up. You think another coach is going to do any better in that situation?
No, that club with their selection policies and everything they sacrificed shot themselves in both feet. Nobody's going to come in and fucking do a miracle job there.
I actually admire what West Coast has done. They withstood the pressure last year of the media and just said, no, we're fucking staying with him. And they're doing it this year. And like the media just want him to be sacked because they want the fucking sound bites.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to. Every week has to be something.
Yeah.
Has to be something. Doesn't matter what it is, it's got to be something.
We've gone off on about 98 tangents. We've talked about everything from Collingwood to Cobra to AFLW to the AFL being a shit-run organisation. Any final thoughts?
I just hope Port get Lynn's suitcase belted out of them this week and we get an easy win. It's going to be a hard task against that midfield, but I don't know whether Port's strong. I mean, they've got fucking Dixon still running around. I mean, he's in a fucking Zimmer frame, the game I was watching the other day.
Yeah, I don't have to make it Port. I mean, they smashed Essendon, but then that just leaves me what I make of Essendon. I don't fucking know.
Oh, I think they're gettable, so we'll probably only lose that one by 2
I mean,
goals.
Sorry, just as we're going to last thoughts, I was watching this with a couple of friends and the Collingwood Hawthorn game. And so the thing that frustrates me is I really appreciate what Port did. They smashed Essendon. They smashed a pretend team coming up. Come to Anzac Day, that'll be a close game.
Oh, you can guarantee it. Absolutely. And that's part of the day as well. I think you do live for these special games. And it's always, and obviously we're going to keep talking for a minute now, but we always seem to have some fucking event around a lot of our games that you do get that reason to lift, if you know what I mean. So that's just going to be part of the course. I think that'll...
but I mean...
They'll be shit this week, and they get fucking Peter Wright, I think, back for that game as well. That's another big thing that we need to stop. They Framers will probably just eat them all.
No, they'll kill Wright.
Yeah, but you can guarantee no matter how crap they'll be over the next few weeks, they'll fucking live for that game.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the disappointing thing. You don't really seem to have any identity. You just match what's out there. So, I mean, against Port, I actually am relatively confident because I just think we're going to sort of play at that level. How good's Port? I don't really fucking know. I don't know. So I think we'll win that one by 84 points.
Oh, good.
Now, any final thoughts?
No. You just want to sum up, I think, that Hawthorn game. It's strange to say, but it's a very disappointing win.
Oh, it's terrible.
But it's 4 points in the bank. We won the flag last year, so what have you got to complain about?
I'm a wog. I was born to complain. Anyway, that's it from us. We'll see you, I don't know, whenever we see you.
After the Port game.
After the Pork game.
So it'll be, we'll take a break. Does anyone give a fuck?
I don't know.
Oh, no.
We're
not going to do anything.
I think we got our best figures
Bye,
last week when these chairs are empty.
We should probably go to the cinema and see some films.
I think we should do that.
We should up our entertainment levels.
Yeah.
Hollywood's doing some great things these days. Did you know that?
Are you watching Star Trek Discovery?
No. You literally, I think watching Star Trek Discovery, it's like that scene in A Clockwork Orange where you've got to be pushed into a chair with a device that has to force your eyeballs to stay open. But I don't think anyone cares. They're here to listen about the shit you talk about footy.
I don't know anything.
Not
Anyway,
either.
that's it. Later.
See ya.